Design development, pretty crucial part of what engineering is, right? This is kind of why we're here, is to do design development, but there's a lot to what goes into design development, and the processes are going to be in the quality manual. There's a paragraph section that covers design development procedures, and there are specific processes underneath of that for a couple of different areas of the design development process overall. This is not a detailed instruction on everything about design development process, but give you a little bit of pointers about some of the terminology that you'll come in contact with while you're here, and to give you some background as you look at those particular processes going forward. As Kim mentioned, the quality overview, the process-driven nature of the quality management system that we're following means that we have several processes that are part of the design development. And we're looking at the process of taking inputs and producing some output. Hopefully the output is a design or is a product. The inputs are going to generally be the requirements the customer has. Now, the scope of what that is and how big the process is and how many processes happen in the meantime can vary widely from stuff that could be a few days long to things that can be years long. Now, as you go through in general, there's several major steps. Planning. First thing you have to do before you engage in any process is you have to plan. Now, there's some guidance and there's some kind of general plans that are in place that we follow most of the time, but you always need to make sure that when necessary that those plans are tailored to the specific contract that's ongoing. Then you need to look at your inputs. You need to look at what your desired outputs are. Is the output of this a product, or is it just a report? Is it some test data? Is it just a paper design? Sometimes, any of those things. We've done jobs where all of the end result is a report that someone's looking for, all the way up to a large piece of equipment. Then you need to be able to have review points, interactions with the customers, interactions internally, interactions with quality. There could be tests, things like that. And then there's both verification and validation. Those are actually different things. We'll talk about that a little bit. And then once the design is done, you have to have a method of controlling any changes. And even within the process, you want to make sure that changes that happen during the iterative nature of design are captured. So specifically, how does Duotech, what are some things that Duotech needs to take into account as we go through the design and development process? First off, preliminary documents we often store in Google Drive. When people first float an idea, we have a customer that comes and says, hey, wouldn't it be great if? Okay, so now we need to start having some conversations, figure out what they're looking for, collecting some information, doing some research. That information all gets captured in Google Drive. We build the project plan. There's a template for a project plan. Typically the supervisor or engineering manager will have already created that project plan, and that'll be on the Google Drive as well. The project plan is a living document. It grows as the project goes along, but it's always the place at any point in time you should be able to go to and see some very specific things. Where are all the files that belong to this drive? What are the part numbers and document numbers that have been created in support of this job? What are the barcodes? Where is the tasking? Who's responsible for communicating to the customer? Who's assigned to what roles on the team? So all that information is captured in that project plan. Then you can move into the actual development phase. We use the version control system, which we'll talk about in a minute, to both capture the initial design data and to track as that design matures throughout the process. At some point, we get to a place where there's releases made. Those are handled through the document control system. And then you have the validation and verification. Validation is the process by which you prove that the design is capable of meeting the requirements the customer had. Okay, if the customer had a requirement for a circuit board or a system that can regulate temperature, I need to be able to prove that the design is capable of regulating temperature to within the specifications that they required. Verification is showing that the thing that I built matches the design. Okay, does that make sense? You have a distinction between is the design correct and is the product that was built actually being built to the requirements that the design specified. Those are two sides of that. A lot of times what you end up with is you end up with a design, you build something, and then you have to test that thing, and that serves as both some verification of the design and validation of the product at the same time. So, but they are two different activities. And then there is control. The document control system and approval process through that allows not only creation tracking of changes that need to happen, but also deciding who needs to approve them, and is it the customer need to have a say in it, or can we make decisions to change certain parts of the design on our own. Then there's also control of the actual end product. That's called configuration management. That is, if I build several different things to the same design, how are they tracked? What if I make a change? Which one has had changes made to it? Do I need to actually make that change to that serial number, or is that one okay and I'm just going to make this change on future devices, for example? That can be particularly important with machine components. Do I take the ones that I already made and go back and add that hole or make that hole bigger? Do I throw them away and make new ones? So there has to be decisions made about that as well. So there's several different activities that all are wrapped up into the whole design development process. Like I said, we're not drilling down into all of those right now. I just want to give you a summary of what those things are as we go into that.